Hello, everyone. My name is Bhavani Krishnan, and I am the Agile Transformation Coach at Agile Velocity. And I also support LACE SWA. We are here to talk about the Tech Ops technology Agile transformation journey. And through this webinar, we hope to share with you the background, some of the challenges, the initiatives that we took, the solutions that we embarked on, the impacts and the results that we saw through this transformation. And I have a panelist with me today, and Jyoti Rai, who is the Managing Director of Tech Ops Technology. We have Sean Kreese right next to her, who is Senior Manager, Tech Ops Systems. And then I have Sumit Mukherjee, who is Senior Manager, Tech Ops Technology. And Alicia White, who is Manager and Agile PMO for Tech Ops Technology. I also have Heather Gibbs, who is the RTE for our Tech Ops Technology program. I have with me here Gina Foster as well, who is the Senior Director of Client Services at Agile Velocity.
Thank you, Bhavani. I appreciate you all making the time to be here today and tell the Tech Ops story. We've come a long way in this journey, and while this is not the end-all be-all, I can tell that everybody is proud to tell this story. I would like to direct the first question to Jyoti and Sumit. What were the most significant challenges that Tech Ops technology faced at the beginning of your transformation journey, and how did these challenges impact operational efficiency?
Thank you, Gina. A few years back, Tech Ops technology embarked on this very long, a very complex journey of taking our maintenance, aircraft maintenance capabilities and merging them into a single MRO system. This was a multi-year effort that required furious deadlines, some serious deadlines, and you can imagine the complexity. As with any multi-year effort, what happened was we collected debt around our people, process, and technology. We needed a way to structure our delivery, a more structured delivery that had some sort of a framework around it. And our biggest challenge was, how do we take our people and define the roles and responsibilities and get into that agile mindset where we take that project mindset toward a more product mindset. And along this, we wanted to make sure that we make our work visible, transparent, to gain that trust from a customer area. And Sumit Mukherjee was with me in all of this. So Sumit, anything you want to add to this?
Sure, thanks, Jyoti. I want to expand on what Jyoti said, the keyword debt, right? So for 5 odd so years, or 6 years rather, we did inherit a lot of debt in terms of people, process, technology, like Jyoti said. As we're going through an agile transformation, people were not trained as to how you perform those agile roles. Process-wise, we were not set up as to how do you apply delivering on systems and solutions quickly, rapidly to our customer needs. Tool-wise, we were just not there in terms of having the right tools in place to help deliver solutions. Jyoti talked about debt in our systems, having to always address fire drills all the time. So the focus was very, how do we stabilize the environment? How do we stabilize the people coming out of the 6-7 years program, or 5-6 years, whatever that time is? It's just so long, right? And then you have process where you haven't really thought about how do you start grouping all of those challenges and streamlining that through an agile framework. So I think those challenges just were so severe for us that we really felt that we need to go through an agile transformation at the very beginning.
Thank you. Having been part of many transformations, I have experienced mindset and culture of an organization play a significant part. Sumit and Sean, how was transitioning from a project delivery mindset to a product value mindset a key challenge? And how did you facilitate the shift within your teams? And what were the initial roadblocks that you encountered?
Sure. So I want to continue what we were just talking about, process, right? So like we said, 5, 6 years, 7 years of a project-centric mindset. People are just working off what is the most important thing, how do we cut over from an application, how do we get all of that done. So the mindset has just been stuck, or was stuck at least, as to just addressing the need of the hour. As we started out this journey, the whole conversation was, how do we now evolve systems which help our business customers? How do we add value to each of those systems without having to just address one firewall at a time? I think that was the big key. And then my partner in crime right over here, Sean, he helped us make that transition really well, because the business understood that we need to get to a very deliberate backlog of what is most critical to our customers. How do we serve value? And that kind of shifted as to how do we start looking at not a project-based way of approaching things and more of a product way of evolving things. Sean, I'll hand it over to you if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, thanks, Sumit. So you make a good point. We knew we needed to get to more of a product-based mindset there, but from the business perspective, how do we get there? My team is our business folks, and so they're not as versed in some of the terminology and new processes that were being proposed to them, and it raised some challenges. Why do we need to change? We just came out of this major initiative, and we were successful. We deployed a tool. So why do we need to change what we just did? How do I have time? I'm not going to have the bandwidth to learn new terminology, new processes, be part of all these new ceremonies that are part of this. And then coming off the heels of this major project, the team was exhausted. I mean, most of the folks on my team are on there for 5, 6, 7 years for this project. So you're exhausted and you're kind of resistant to change. So what did we do to kind of help get past that? Well, first and foremost, and I thank Vivani tremendously on this, was we asked for some business focused training, something that was really geared towards the business and help us understand what our role in this new process would be, using our terminology and kind of using real world examples of how we play into this process. We were really transparent as well with my team. They were resistant to change, and we heard them. I listened to what they had to say. We took their feedback. I went back to my partners here in technology, and in many cases, I know Alicia and Sumit, I'd approach you with some changes, and they were really receptive to that. I think we all had the common objective to get through this. And then first, and most importantly, was just seeing the results of taking on this new approach, seeing value delivered quicker and getting your hands on those products sooner was really a big turning point for us. And Bhavani, I know you're really critical in a lot of getting us through that. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sean. As Jyoti, Sumit, and Sean, they all alluded to, the most significant challenges that we all saw initially, especially, was this change fatigue. And as Sean talked about, we had just delivered, a great tool, and it was a long project, but people were like, why are we changing things? Why are we going to a new framework? And why do we have to, adapt to yet another new framework and processes and everything that came along with that? So those were some of the initial challenges. And what Sean easily mentioned was not that easy, but that collaboration between the technology and business partners, and kudos to all the leaders that are here, because they took that very seriously. And when we met with individuals, and whether it was through group or one-on-one interviews, people were very vocal about it, and leadership really listened to it, right? And they were like, yes, we need to be intentional about this transformation. We need to respect their change fatigue. We need to respect the reason behind the resistance. So those were some of the mindset shift that we saw from the get-go. And again, thanks to the leadership, whether it was from a director level or the system level or the team level, they all did a wonderful job of recognizing the change fatigue and identified what they really needed to do for this to be really successful.
Alicia, transitioning to a new way of working is challenging, especially when integrating into your current processes. How did you manage the team ramp up of agile and safe training, and what strategies were most effective in overcoming the learning curve?
Oh, wow. That's a great question, Gina. So ramp up is a very critical and intentional approach, specifically with a change such as this, because of the massive impact that it has across the organization. As these guys have mentioned, the change fatigue, et cetera, that the teams were undergoing. I want to start with saying the most critical thing was ensuring that we had that leadership support, making sure that executive sponsorship was in place to ensure that the teams felt like they had an ear to listen to them, that they had someone that was willing to incorporate their feedback, as well as a safe place to allow them to try new things, especially as they're taking on these new processes and frameworks that provide them an opportunity to fail and adjust, and learn from the new ways of working that they're trying. I think also in doing so, as well as in having the conversations that they mentioned that they have with individuals within our department and our organization, they were also able to identify change agents, safe champions who got excited and enthusiastic about the change. And they were able to infect that and inject that enthusiasm within their own teams, within their own different corners of the organization, just to ensure that the message was broadcasted and that it was garnering, the support and, or at minimum, the curiosity that we wanted our teams to approach a transformation such as this. Out of those, identifying those change agents, we were also able to establish a leadership team that became the Agile Leadership Group. And they were responsible for identifying what were the critical steps, as well as the change curve that we needed to prepare ourselves for in undertaking this type of transformation journey. One of the things that, of course, were critical that they were able to identify and partner with our LACE department on, as well as you mentioned, as Sean mentioned, his team, is structured training programs that we held across the organization by role, regardless of seniority, and even by application of concepts by the different agile frameworks that we were putting into place, whether it was as specific as splitting features or writing objectives. It allowed application of what they were learning in real time to work that was contextual to them. And I think that was so important in the effectiveness of training like that. And then gradually rolling it out. Because keep in mind, I'm still on ramp up, guys. This is a lot of work, right? And it's almost like looking through a fire hose. If you do this too fast, it could fail. So that responsiveness to our teams to understand the timing of when something is rolling out. Are they ready for this? Should we give them a little bit more time to get their legs under them before we roll out something else? I think that our teams definitely appreciated it. It allowed them to get foundational understanding before maturing in a certain area. And then last, but definitely not least, is the use of an experienced agile coach. Bhavani has been so instrumental in the success of our transformation because she has taken the time to not only understand our organization, but taking the safe principles and framework in teaching us how to apply them to our organization in the ways that make the most sense and are the most effective for us has been just, chef's kiss. She has been phenomenal.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you. Ensuring the team's WIP was manageable and that the teams were able to focus on all of the challenges. Alicia and Sean, how can you discuss the process of developing a prioritization framework, and how did it contribute to overcoming the issues of excessive work in progress and context switching for Tech Ops technology with almost 300 members of the ART?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, big department. That's a great question, Gina. That was something that was also very deliberate because this was going to change our way of working. I know Sean can attest to this and he'll probably elaborate on it. But when I came into Tech Ops, it was kind of free for all in regards to, who had the greatest priority. And our teams were experiencing whiplash as well as a lot of context switching, which is never great when you're wanting them to produce quality work that they're passionate and that fully fully engaged on. So one of the things that we did was, of course, work with Sean's team, collaborate across the aisle to kind of understand what our current state was, and begin gradually incorporating those safe principles. One of those principles being the WSJF prioritization framework. It's the weighted shortest jobs first. And in partnership with Sean's team, he can expound on this, we were able to bring this further up into the business so that as we were receiving demand from them, we were aligned on what those priorities were coming into our technology funnel. And that allowed us to very early on ensure that we were keeping a mindset out or a lookout for what our WIP was that we were transitioning into our development teams. Sean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I paired a lot of what you just said there. The way, or at least the way it was perceived, the way we did prioritization prior to this shift was who asked last, who asked loudest, and that's how things were kind of rolled out. So speaking specifically for my team, which I know we just handed off the technology, everybody's working on everything because everything was a priority. It was really difficult to know where everything was in the state of things. Going back to your comment on context switching, you're just rapidly switching. I've got these 10 things. I don't know. They're all priority. I'm going to work a little bit on each and just each day kind of incrementally move it forward, which is exhausting, especially coming on the heels of the last project. So this transformation, we learned a lot. The concept of WSJF has helped us out tremendously. We on the Tech Ops side have stood up our own internal intake process. So now anything that comes in, anything that we have to hand off to another department, primarily technology, comes through an internal review process, and we assign WSJF there. It's an objective look at every item, and it allows us to objectively prioritize so that we can hand it off to technology and say, this is our number one priority, this is number 6. And there's really no question about it. And what it really helps us with is explaining that to our customers. When I have my directors asking me, where's my thing, they already know where it is in that priority because they understand the methodology behind coming up with the WSJF. And it just really allows us to know where things are. There's really a lot less surprises. And when there is a surprise, when something new bubbles up, you're able to slot it in there using this methodology. And it's been a tremendous shift in how we approach things. And it's really helped with the transparency and just the understanding of where everything comes into that. And it takes the guesswork out of it. So
Love that.
Alignment of your goals, maintaining the integrity of your company culture while working with your technology vendors always plays a key role and continues to influence employee and customer satisfaction. Sumit and Sean, what role did vendor partner integration play in the transformation process, and how did you ensure alignment and effective collaboration with these partners?
Yeah, I mean, the vendors, it's a very interesting mix to have. Almost every department in Southwest has a myriad of vendors in their space. Tech Ops is uniquely positioned. We have one vendor which is positioned, or one kind of vendors which is positioned around just augmenting teams, and another set of vendor mix which is just around providing COTS applications. COTS, just like off-the-shelf products which we just inherit and then just start working off it, right? So the focus which Tech Ops technology did was we started looking at our augmenting vendors who were just providing labor to just focus on which ones are the key skills needed for our team and department, and then just having them build on those solutions. The other key aspect was our COT providers. The MRO system we keep talking about, MaintainX, which is in Tech Ops, is a massive COTS application, right? So as you heard from Sean and Alicia about prioritization and objectivity and WSJF, we started applying the same principles to our COT providers, saying, hey, we want to look at your backlog and prioritize that objectively as to how we want to get those solutions back to our customers. Yes, it's a cost application, but there are some needs which Southwest has, our customers have, and how do we hit them all, making sure each of them are just exactly how the customers wanted, when they wanted it, and being very objective about it. So Sean, if you want to add more on how our cost vendor continue to evolve, I know we keep talking about transformation, but it's not a one stop and just done with it. It's something which we're just still going through, right?
yeah. And I'll take a little side here. This mindset you can apply it to so many different applications, or so many different ways of looking at things. And we did that exactly with this one vendor in particular. The tool maintenance is at the heart of everything we do in Tech Ops. Everything in Tech Ops flows through this one tool, and every department in Tech Ops uses this tool. So we have hundreds of enhancement requests, all of varying ask, all of various size and all that. But previous to this transformation, we just had a list out there, and the vendor could pick and choose what they want. Everything was on the list. So we took this same concept of WizJIP and we applied scoring to all of these enhancements. Rather than, again, individual departments kind of championing their own things, we looked at it from a Tech Ops perspective. What is important to us? Why is it important to us? And those were the things that we handed off to the vendor and had them focus on. We've already seen the benefits of that since we've kind of applied that transformation to the vendor. In the last couple service packs, we've seen very meaningful enhancements delivered to us or about to be delivered that are really going to transform our business. And a lot of that is thanks to having this focus of prioritizing and not just sending, here's a list and you guys pick what you want to do. These are the things that are important to us. That's what we want you to focus on. Bhavani, I know as part of this whole thing and moving from you saw us at the beginning and where we are now. Your thoughts on how we've done on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just in addition to what Alicia, Sumit, and Sean had mentioned in terms of, how did we ramp up on training and how did the prioritization framework work? And of course, this vendor partner integration, it's a holistic approach, right? And to what Sean alluded in terms of it was not only on the technology side, but also on the business side, we had to really be intentional about it. But how did we really choose all of this? How did we go about what are the business outcomes that we want to factor into or that we want to influence? So initially, when, we started working with Sumit being, the stepping stone into all of this, we really talked about the compelling purpose, right? We wanted people to understand, why are we really doing this? What is the reason behind this transformation? Because we wanted people to organically fit into that and not just, resist for the sake of resisting, but we wanted to really help them understand what's in it for them. Because a lot of times we forget the people at the team level are really okay, right? They just want to get their job done. They want to develop and they want to really do a good job. So we started with compelling purpose and we identified the key business outcomes as predictability. And again, from Sean's perspective, the customer satisfaction, and then also along the lines of that, how do we improve the quality and the speed? So Alicia mentioned in terms of, slow rolling the training and be intentional about it, regardless of seniority. We really wanted to go, provide training for everybody. And that included leaders as well. We did, leadership training. We did very role-based focus training for product owners, scrum masters, RTEs, and product managers also. And Sean mentioned this earlier, even on the business side. So we wanted this to mean something holistic, and that's how we started. And then on the prioritization workshop framework, as Alicia mentioned, WizJIP is something that they all use now, but we started with Moscow, right? What is the must have or the should have, could have, and what do we really need to eliminate? So we started with something very simple and very straightforward. And from there, we graduated to, this one backlog. So today we don't have a technology backlog or a business backlog. We have one combined backlog. Tech Ops Technology has one combined backlog that business and technology works hand in hand to prioritize, so that that kind of eliminates this tug and pull for the team members, because a lot of times they are the ones that are left with working on this conflicting priority. So again, that was a huge initiative that we all took, and we're continuously improving that as we go.
I can just add one thing to that.
Yeah.
Because you made me think of this, is one of the things that we saw on the business side was the importance of product health items. Mm-hmm. We prior to this, we just want the things that are fancy and make our life easier, but we kind of always underappreciated product health. And we saw just from some of the early initiatives after go live, what a lack of product help does to the business. So having that one single list and that we all collaborate on has been a huge, huge improvement as well.
Yeah, great point to add.
In the spirit of communication, Heather, can you dive into how you all implemented the centralized dashboards and open communication channels? And how did these tools improve visibility and transparency within the organization?
Yeah, sure. So prior to our safe transformation, some of our teams were a bit siloed in how they worked and what tools they used. So we didn't always have that clear insight into what was happening with each of our teams. We did have some standardization with status reports and things of that nature, but again, no true insight on how the work was being done, how much work was on each team's plate, how we were delivering versus how we planned. It was really, I think Sean kind of talked about it earlier, it's just kind of like grab it and get it done, right? So now that we have centralized dashboards and a centralized tool or suite of tools that we're all using, we're all putting in the same quality data. We're all using the same discipline and making sure that the dashboard is being used correctly, that the outputs are what we intend, no garbage in because we don't want any garbage out. Mm-hmm. So now we're able to see it's very transparent. What work does each team have on their plate? Are they going over their capacity? Are they going over the WIP limits? So that's really powerful because you can tell A, that they're not overloaded, but B, that also we have the right mix of things being worked on at the right time and that we're delivering to plan.
Team members' autonomy to take ownership and making decisions closer to their work contributes to team empowerment. Heather, can you share examples where the decentralizing decision-making approach led to significant improvements in outcomes?
For sure. So I first want to touch on what things were like before our safe transformation. We would sometimes have a lengthy process to change our work, to bring in something that was unplanned or just make a key decision. And that would require time, sometimes senior leadership buy-off. But now that we have that intake process that's been described, Alicia's described it, I think Sean has as well, it helps us refine our work, but it's not rigid. It helps us also have some room for pivoting. So basically now the teams in the RTE at that level can look at unplanned items that come in, such as maybe a critical defect in one of our systems. And we're able to weigh the cost benefit and pivot and see if we can fit it into that PI or ask questions like, hey, can we do this in our next PI? Or, hey, since we're bringing this in, we have to bring it in. What can we take off of our plates? And that's really helped us decrease context switching, decrease our WIP limit, and just made for happier teams.
Alicia and Sean, adapting to change and enhancing organizational responsiveness is continuous. What are the key components of your continuous planning process, and how did it enhance adaptability and responsiveness to change?
Thanks for the question, Gina. I think we touched on some of it earlier. Starting off with our intake process, that's our first mechanism for demand coming into our system. Like I said, we collaborated with Sean's team, and so as a result of that collaboration, as well as the WSHIFT objective prioritization, we have a centralized backlog that we all partner and work from. And we ensure that that backlog maintains alignment with our departmental, as well as Southwest strategic objectives and goals. And we are constantly assessing as new demand comes up, whether that demand takes precedent over what we thought to be our previous priorities and objectives. And that's that constant refinement. Another, I think, key component of this entire system that I know we've touched on, but I don't think we've had an opportunity to expound upon, is making work visible, bringing visibility as to what is currently being worked on, as well as to what is currently in our system to be worked on, that we're prioritizing and grooming into our team's backlog is critical for us to be able to make decisions on the fly, as well as to empower our teams to make those decisions, because we know what is in the system, we have visibility to it, and they are making the most informed decisions that they can based on what they know in response to the environment. So I'll let Sean add on to that.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. I just really want to stress what you just said there was making work visible. That was a mandate from my leadership as part of this transformation, and it has been, from my perspective, a game changer. we have I think it's twice or every other week meeting where we have all the technology and tech ops senior leaders in there. And Alicia's done a great job of putting a slide together. It really just shows where's all the work, where's it in the funnel. I remember the first time I saw it, I'm like, wait, I've been waiting for that for years. And it was just so simple, but it was so just kind of, this is where we're at. There's no guesswork anymore. You know where it's at. If you're able to, if there's roadblocks or anything like that, we call that out there. So make work visible, make work transparent, allow for flexibility as things pop up, because in tech ops especially, you never know what new project's going to come down the pike. So the ability to have that visible work and slot in new things as they arise just makes it so much easier. And it just fosters a sense of ownership, I know, from my team, because they know where stuff is. It's not just handed off and has gone behind some curtain or into some dark hole. Everybody knows where stuff is. Everybody knows what that priority is. So it's been really, really critical in the acceptance on the tech ops side of this whole shift in mindset.
And Sean, if I can just add a little bit more to that, I know y'all talked about like the centralized dashboard, like how it added visibility and transparency to that. One of the things that we also wanted to focus on, as you all talked about, like making work visible, not only at the leadership level, right? Not only at the portfolio or the system, but even at the team level, like what stories are they working on? What tasks are they working on? And that kind of added that, another level of visibility, and that helped with capacity planning. And your multi-PI roadmap was, possible because of that. And we're talking about not only making work visible from a software development perspective, but also on the process side, right? Like as part of safe PI planning process, we have this inspect and adapt workshop every PI, and the team comes together, like the entire org comes together, and all the leadership participates in it. And it's just so beautiful to see how that transforms into a backlog that the team kind of works like throughout the PI. And even that is made visible. Like the RTEs, they do a wonderful job of maintaining that backlog of, here are all the things that we said that we're going to go after to work on as part of the inspect and adapt. So those are some of the lessons learned that we incorporate into those as well. And just one more thing, Alicia, you talked about ALT earlier, and that's a huge process in it as itself to make things visible for the entire art. Like the things that get implemented through ALT, they get talked about in some of your staff meeting and like even maybe in town hall and such, right? So there's this like multi-prong approach that y'all took to make things visible, and then also make sure that these results and impacts are being communicated effectively to the members of the art. Because again, we all talk about retrospectives, but retrospectives are only effective if they're being followed on, right? And that was a huge point that we wanted to intentionally focus on, to make sure that these impacts and these results are being shared with people.
Thank you, Bhavani. Jyoti, Sean, and Sumit, as we wrap up, let's spend some time on how fostering a leadership mindset focused on servant leadership and autonomy contributed to the overall success of the transformation. What were the biggest challenges in achieving this?
Yes, the servant leadership. This was so key to the success of this transformation. The servant leadership actually translated for us into moving that sense of ownership to the team level. And I think that really, really helped us get from that project mindset to product mindset. And amazing job by this team, being there for the teams and helping them move forward was the key to the overall success, I would say. Sean, what do you think from that?
No, I agree. I think establishing that sense of ownership with every member, regardless of your title or role or seniority, they all felt empowered to be owners, and they were owners. And I think that was a key step forward in this. you have to hear what they have to say. You have to be ready to hear bad news or pushback, but guiding them through that and letting them know that they can make those decisions and move things along as they see fit, because they all bring that to the table. One of the other things that I saw with this change in how we've done this is it's not a tech ops versus technology anymore, and we struggled with that for many years on other projects. Every person at this table right here is essentially here to help my organization move forward. And we couldn't do that without the help and partnership of everybody in technology. And what I saw was, like, for instance, business folks embedded almost in individual pods and working with them and working through problems, and not one team or the other dictating to each other. So I think that sense of ownership was really the key. So they all feel empowered to make that and talk and collaborate. It's so pleasing, or exciting to watch how we transformed in such a short period of time. So you're on the other side of it. So
yeah, I love how Sean is gushing over this, and I think the theme which was in this entire conversation all along is the wantingness to just say we want to find solutions and not problems. So we knew walking into the transformation, there are a lot of challenges, right? But the entire leadership team, along with the individuals, team members, they all were hyper-focused saying, we want to walk in finding solutions. And I think that's what Sean's just talking about and Jyoti's talking about, that everybody was so invested in that compelling reason as to why we want to go through this, because it is not about, oh, we have a problem, let's go fix this. We want to get better at this. And how do we make our customers happy? And with that vision, I think this entire leadership team was empowering their own team members, everybody around them, saying, how do we go and make this a better place to be, in terms of a great place to hang out with friends and people to work with, a great place where we can serve our customers, and just being very transparent to our customers, saying, if I'm stuck, here's why I'm stuck, and help me help you. I think that mindset really helped change this transformation as to how we went about doing this.
You probably noticed, jump in here real quick, you probably noticed our teams now kind of solve it themselves and then kind of come to us and say, here's what we've done, rather than, hey, we've got a problem, we don't know what to do. And that's been, and things move faster that way. And they're smart people, and it's really great to see.
Yeah.
And looking back at the entire transformation journey, what would you say were some of the most crucial factors that led to the successful outcomes? And what advice would you give to organizations that are facing similar challenges? Bhavani, let's start with you.
Thank you, Gina. Wow. Okay. So looking back, it's been almost 2 years since, right? It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I think Jyoti already talked about it, and Sumit and Sean alluded to it in many words. It's basically the leaders, right? The leaders at all levels focused on servant leadership and team autonomy, providing a clear vision to everybody to corral around it and rally behind. And the leaders were there at every step of the way, because any transformation you started, you are going to get that resistance. But the leaders were there along the journey to catch them up, to spend time with them. I've been to Jyoti's office many times, and it's always open. And I've heard a lot of people talk about this too. They're like, I've had my skip level with Jyoti. I've, had this conversation with her, and I feel so much better about it. So leaders like that are embracing, when people come to them with problems, they have been there, and they continue to be there. To support them through this. They're like, it's okay, we're all human. So providing that human side of it, supporting them with that human perspective to allow them to not necessarily fail, because that can have a negative connotation to it, but it's more like, it's okay to pause. It's okay to focus on what's important right now, and then we'll pick you back up, right? And then the other thing from Sean's side, like, his business owners and business partners, the safe PI planning is for the most part, anywhere 2 full days. And, his business people are available through those. They are part of, the entire planning session and the breakout sessions. And they are there with the teams trying to understand what are we working on for this PI? What are the things that you're all committing to? And they're there to have those negotiations and conversations. So, this continuous commitment to improvement, I think is very key for everybody to kind of understand is important for success. Sumit, what would you add to that?
I mean, just hearing you talk about this, so I'm a big Formula One fan, and it reminds me of one of the teams, McLaren. They had this logo, which still sticks with me, is the race to perfection has no finish line. And I think that's the operative word, that when you're going through a transformation, it is never going to be that you've achieved and you're done with it. It's just going to continue evolving, knowing that you're going to have to change as to how you operate. Your customers are evolving, your market's evolving, your team's evolving, right? So just knowing that every time you're doing this transformation, I think is going to be a big key driver for everyone.
I think that should be the tagline. For,
well, it's not mine, though.
Sean, what would you add to that?
So there are 3 things that kind of come to mind is instilling a sense of collaboration, which we did. I think that was just the nature of Southwest kind of promotes collaboration. And we saw that happen right off the get-go. But it's just, it gets reinforced as we go through this. With having that sense of collaboration is huge. The sense of ownership, letting people know they're empowered to make decisions, that they own these items that they're working through, which again, kind of feeds into that collaboration. And then transparency. Let's be transparent with our people why we're making these changes. Let's be transparent if things have to change or why we may be moving things here or there or whatever. Listening to their feedback. I think it just fosters that just acceptance and adoption going forward. And Jyoti, this has been, I don't know if it's been your baby or not, but I'd be curious.
I tell you what. First of all, as I said, I am so proud of this group, what you all have achieved, right? We started this safe journey because we wanted to change the mindset of the people. Go from that project-based to product-based, right? Make work visible. Now, just hearing all of you talk about this, I was jotting down notes. What did I hear? We made work visible. We changed toward that product mindset. We got alignment through prioritization, transparency. And this one I really, really love. That continuous improvement mindset through that localized decision making. That is so strong. That is so strong. This has been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to change how we operate here. And I'm seeing the fruits of our labor, right? And so my advice to folks would be, first of all, understand your case for change, right? Where are your biggest gaps? Focus on those biggest gaps, right? The training, the coaching, the servant leadership mindset is so important toward that. So thank you, Bhavani, for being there. Thank you, everyone, for being there with the agile leadership mindset. I'm truly proud of what we have achieved here.
That's amazing to hear.
And thank you, Jyoti, for your leadership. And I just want to thank everybody for being here again today. I've enjoyed being alongside of y'all through this journey, and we'll continue cheering y'all on. Back to you, Bhavani.
Awesome. So, folks, that concludes our webinar. I really want to take this opportunity to thank all our panelists. Tech Ops technology and Tech Ops system has been near and dear to my heart. I really enjoyed my time here. If I say any more, I might really become emotional. But yeah, thanks everybody. And I want to thank our host, Gina Foster, as well.